welcome in. It is the Monday, September 29 edition of the NFL Spotlight Show. I am your host, Ari Meirov. Another Sunday in the books, week 4. We have 2 games left of here in week 4. Monday Night Football, Jets and Dolphins, Bengals and Broncos to wrap up the week over here. And what a Sunday it was. We had some unfortunate injuries. We had some upsets around the NFL, including that Giants and Chargers game in the early window. The Ravens are now 1-3, and they have a bunch of injuries as well. A lot to get to here around the NFL. Stick over here for the back end of the show. We will be revealing who will be our spotlight guest of the week for tomorrow's episode on Tuesday. But for now, let me bring in my good friend Ben Allen. Ben, what's going on? How are you?
You know, just grieving another Ravens loss, just like we all assumed they would be. 1-3. The Super Bowl favorites on FanDuel entering the season, and here we sit today at 1-3. To be fair, tough schedule. I'm honestly not losing that much sleep, but it really does give you an idea of how crazy the NFL can be, particularly with these early season schedulings, seeing some of these teams go out there that you expect. I mean, heck, we saw the Green Bay Packers lose to the Cleveland Browns the other day, so that gives you all you need to know as far as the absolute craziness that is the NFL. So what we got to do today, though, Ari, is we got to go through some of the big storylines that took place. And some of them are more obvious than not, but injuries are something that happens in the game. There was a really, really bad one that took place on Sunday. Can you go ahead and walk us through what happened there around the NFL with the injuries?
I mean, listen, I'm from New York. I have a lot of Giants, Jets fans around me all the time whenever I'm walking around over here. And there was a lot of excitement and hope. Jackson Dart debut. Malik Nabers finally has a quarterback. Let's go next 10 years. And it looked fun for a quarter. And then, of course, Malik Nabers going up for a catch suffers a torn ACL. And now he is out for the year with a long rehab ahead. I'm sure we'll find out more details here today about the extent of the ACL injury. Is it a clean tear? Is it a more complicated tear? If it's a more complicated one where there are more ligament damage aside from the ACL, it could be an even longer recovery like we've seen with players like a Brandon Ayuk, who is nowhere close to returning right now this season. But this will once again bring the attention and the spotlight to what is going on with MetLife Stadium, which for years and years has been one of the most controversial fields in the NFL. We saw it with Malik Nabers on Sunday. We saw it with Joe Alt on Sunday as well, who suffered a high ankle sprain. We'll see how long he's out. Both of those things happen on the turf at MetLife Stadium. And again, this is not new. Odell Beckham Jr., of course, played for the Giants. He went out there, posted something about enough is enough with this turf. And listen, we'll never fully know if this happened because of it, but the problem when it comes to MetLife Stadium, and we've spoken about it briefly in the past, but for fans who don't fully understand all of this, the difference between turf and grass, the difference essentially comes that grass, whenever you plant your foot, the surface can kind of move with you a little bit. And whenever you're on turf, it does not do that. It basically grabs you. So when a player's cleat sticks into the ground, there's more stress on the knee or the ankle. And as a result, that's why there are so many non-contact injuries at MetLife Stadium. For example, they've tried to change the turf to a different type of turf over the last couple of years. None of it makes a difference. Essentially, the way players explain it is that it feels like your foot is getting trapped in the ground. And again, they've tried to address this over the years. They've switched to turf types after there was an outcry from players. I think it was a 2020 or 2021 season. But this is stuff that will continue to be brought up anytime there is a significant injury, especially to significant big-time players like a Malik Nabers, like we had on Sunday, and the complete complaints are not going to go away. And the reason why I think the outcry is going to be even louder when it comes to all of this is that next year, the World Cup is coming here to our country, and there's going to be a bunch of big games at MetLife Stadium. I think the final will be at MetLife Stadium, and MetLife Stadium is going to change the entire field. They're getting rid of the turf, and they're going to have natural grass for the entire tournament, which is required, or else you are never going to have a chance of having the tournament at MetLife Stadium. So at the end of the day, and what the players are always going to complain about, and what the NFLPA always try to show to the owners, is that you guys are willing to change it if it means making more money, for example, for a World Cup, but you're not going to change it for your own players, who, of course, are very, very important for our product. So this is something that will continue to be a topic. And I don't think it's in come to an end. But it's unfortunate for Giants fans who have had years and years and years of struggles and disappointments and just being bad and starting 0-3 in the last couple of years and just having their seasons come to an end already in September and October. Finally, you feel some hope. Finally, you feel like you might have something going in the right direction. You have Jackson Dart, who looks like he could be the real deal in the NFL. Looks like he could be a franchise quarterback. Now he loses his number one potential superstar receiver for the season, and now he's going to be working with the likes of Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson, and maybe Jalen Hyatt gets on the field. But there's only one Malik Nabers. Now he's out for the year, which is absolutely bad for the Giants and bad for NFL fans in general because he's awesome.
But hey, they picked up the win, so is it all worth it? No, definitely not all worth it. The grass situation is always interesting. I know there's a lot of like conflicting information as far as like what really are the injury rates, grass versus turf. We all grow up playing sports on grass. You usually get to high school, you start seeing some more turf in place, but baseball plays on grass. Like, I get there's a price associated with everything. I've never understood how the NFL hasn't just said, screw it, everyone figure out a way to maintain grass. Doesn't make sense to me.
It's very simple, Ben. It's because you only have 8, 9 home games a year. You have this beautiful stadium that you built, that you put in a lot of money in, whether it's your own money, some of it is the city's money, whatever. We don't have to get into all of that. But at the end of the day, you want to make more money off the stadium. The only way to do this is to have more events, which is having concert, which is having all these other events in the stadium. If that's the case, you got to take it off and take it back on. And the only way to do it is to go ahead and use artificial turf, which is what's been going on with a bunch of stadiums around the NFL. But for a long time, MetLife Stadium has been up there as the worst. And we keep on seeing it. And it sucks because there's been a lot of really, really good players who have had to deal with this at that stadium. And Malik Nabers going out that stadium. I remember there's the Nick Bosa game. There was, I don't remember the Saquon Barkley one, the Odell Beckham Jr. one. There have been a lot of players who have suffered injuries at that stadium. Away players, home players, and I don't think it's ever going to change. The player union, they've tried all these different things. It's not really working. We'll see if a CBA change and stuff like that could result in something. But at the end of the day, this keeps on happening, and it's unfortunate for Giants and Jets players when it happens to them because they play there 8, 9 times a year, and you want your team to be good. And having your players healthy takes you a long way, and that's not going to happen right now for the Giants.
Stay healthy equals success. It's generally a good rule of thumb. A couple other injuries around the league. Lamar Jackson left the game with a hamstring injury. I'm going to put that in quotations. As well as Joe Alt, believed to have suffered a high ankle sprain. You got anything on those two?
Yeah, so high ankle sprains, they all vary. Generally, it's a 4 to 6 week injury, but it depends again what grade it is when it comes to that. We've seen some players play through a high ankle sprain after just a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We'll see what the story is with him. But when the injury happened and he was carted off the field, everyone, that would have been the gut punch of all gut punches because they already lost Rashawn Slater for the season. They're probably the only team in the NFL that could go from an all-pro left tackle to an all-pro left tackle, which is what Joe Alt has been so far. But he's probably going to miss some time, but it's not season ending, which obviously is a good thing. Lamar Jackson, I know we are saying, oh, maybe he took himself out of the game. Reporters did spot him going to the bus, kind of limping a little bit. So we'll monitor that over here this week before their next game against the Houston Texans. But the Ravens are ravaged by injuries right now. Yes, they're 1-3 on the year. That is not nobody thought they would be 1-3 to start the year. Yes, they've had some difficult matchups over here, but you look at all the injuries they've had so far this season, whether it's big or small, from Lamar Jackson to Ronnie Stanley to Nnamdi Madubuike, who's on IR with a neck injury, which sounds like it might be more significant than just 4 games, by the way. Kyle Van Noy missed this game. Roquan Smith left this game. Nate Wiggins left this game. Marlon Humphrey left this game. Broderick Washington did not play in this game. Before the season started, Ardarius Washington tore his Achilles. They've had a lot of injuries on this team so far this year, and that is obviously not good for a team that has high hopes. Obviously, there's a division over here that Joe Burrow is obviously out for most of the rest of the regular season. The Steelers are 3-1. The Browns are what the Browns are right now. So the division is still very much wide open for them. They still have to face the Steelers 2 times this year. But when the injuries pile up the way it does right now, eventually you start getting worried that when is it too much? You hope the Lamar thing is not anything more significant than just missing the rest of Sunday's game. Again, we'll watch it the rest of the week. But once it feels like it piles up over here, that's when you start getting a little bit worried. But we'll see what the extent was over here when John Harbaugh speaks later today.
All right, moving on from the injuries, there's kind of a unique situation that took place after the game between the 49ers and the Jaguars. Can you talk a little bit about what we saw with Liam Coen and Robert Saleh?
This is by far one of the more odd stories that we've had in the NFL so far this year. So let's go back for a second. Last week, every single week, a coordinator speaks to the media, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator. Robert Saleh, speaking to local reporters in San Francisco, randomly brings up that the Jaguars and their coaching staff, led by Liam Coen, do an exceptional job at sign stealing legally whenever it comes to the offense and defenses to get an edge, which is an interesting thing to bring up. I mean, it's very random. He didn't have to do that. And eventually he got a follow-up question and he explained it a little bit more. And I kind of thought of it like, okay, that's interesting. He's kind of complimenting the Jaguars because he kept on saying that it's legal. He also mentioned that Liam and some of his guys from Minnesota, Liam was never in Minnesota. That person from Minnesota is the offensive coordinator, Grant Udinsky, who was on the show previously, who is absolutely brilliant. So I think he was talking about him. But whenever you talk about sign stealing and all these different things, every single team in the NFL does it. It's very common. Like I texted a few people around the NFL, people who are in coaching booths, people who do advanced scouting. This is all totally normal in the NFL. Maybe the Jaguars are better at it than other teams, but what is it? What am I talking about? You basically are watching film, the all 22, you watch the TV copy, you listen to all the hot mics, you listen to all the stuff that might be caught on TV, and you kind of look for tells, you look for signals, you look for like, oh, if somebody does this, that means that. Let's be ready for this. Obviously, you also can get burned by it if the opposing team switches it week to week, week to week. But the point is, that's kind of what you're looking for. So Robert Saleh mentioned it, and Liam Coen the next day was asked about it and did not want to talk about it. And as soon as I saw that, I was able to tell that he's kind of pissed off about this thing. And of course, the Jaguars, 49ers, they play on Sunday in Santa Clara. The Jaguars go in, win the game. 49ers no longer undefeated. Jaguars are now 3-1. And at the end of the game, it looks like Robert Saleh is heading towards Liam Coen. There's give him a handshake, and Liam essentially just walks by him, nods his head no, and then eventually all hell breaks loose. And what you hear Liam Coen saying, and shout out to Action Sports Jacksonville, who has the audio of the video, he essentially tells Robert Saleh, keep my name out of your mouth. So clearly he was very upset that he even brought it up, which is interesting again, because Kyle Shanahan last week mentioned that he felt like that's more of a compliment to Jacksonville, but Liam was clearly very, very upset about it, that this happened, which is very interesting. Liam is a very fiery guy. He's a very intense guy. He's doing a tremendous job in Jacksonville, and I'll give him a lot of credit because the coaching staff that he's put together so far in Jacksonville has been awesome so far this year. From Grant Udinsky as the offensive coordinator to Anthony Campanelli, the defensive coordinator, who so far the Jaguars defense this year in all 4 games have recorded at least 3 turnovers in each game. Last year, for the entire season before all these guys got there, the Jaguars had 9 turnovers on the entire season. They already have 12, 13 this season through 4 games. So Liam has done an exceptional job over here, but it's also been very interesting to follow along over here and see the reaction this got, the reaction after the game that it got. And it's been a very, very long time since we've seen 2 coaches kind of butt heads after it. They didn't actually butt heads, but at least get a little bit fiery and have to be held back. And that's what happened on Sunday. But a lot of people across the NFL, from all the messages that I sent out, said whatever Robert said about Jacksonville is totally normal around the NFL. Every single team does it, and we're not really sure why Robert mentioned it.
It's kind of funny. Also, another weird parallel that kept popping to my head when we were seeing this take place. Saleh was considered like the runner-up for this job in Jacksonville as well, right?
So if we go back for a second, these are the stories that I love because Liam, as we all remember, initially agreed to return to Tampa Bay. And then Jacksonville fired their GM and Trent Baalke. And then they reached back out to Liam Coen, who ghosted Tampa Bay, eventually took the job in Jacksonville, and he became the head coach there. If Liam was not taking the job in Jacksonville, the likely head coach right now in Jacksonville with Trent Baalke as the GM is Robert Saleh. So that is even the funnier connection when it comes to all of this. But again, Robert bringing it up in the first place, I felt like it was a compliment. Maybe he was trying to get into the coaches' heads. Maybe he was trying to tell the Jaguars assistants that, hey, those signals you've been looking for throughout the week, we're going to change it this week. Be ready for that. So maybe it was just all these different types of games. You try to find an edge in any single way. But it was interesting just to see the reaction after the game. No handshake, the entire back and forth. I've not heard what Robert said, but I did hear from somebody who was on the field that there were some F-bombs dropped by him. So it got ugly on both sides. And it's fascinating to see. But these two teams, they only play each other once every 4 years, unless they meet in the Super Bowl, which I guess is possible. But we will not be seeing them going head to head again this year. So that's that.
In this era of like player movement and coach movement across all sports, we don't see as much like rivalry beefs as we probably saw even in the early 2000s. I kind of enjoy a little bit of the chippiness and a little bit of this competition. I don't know. Are you the same way?
I love it. I love it. There's things about the NFL that I don't love right now. Some of it is the taunting penalties. Like, I don't like that. I don't like some of these things. I want to see rivalries. I want to see Ravens Steelers. I want to see Cowboys Eagles. Like, I want to see that stuff happen. Even if it's Jaguars and 49ers, which are two super random teams, one all the way on the West Coast, the other way, all the way on the East Coast. They're clashing like this and they're having these press conferences where they're saying stuff that might be getting on the nerves of somebody else. I love it. I like it when players and coaches say what's on their mind. Just say it. Don't give me the media trained answer. We'll talk about Cam Ward here later on. He went out and said something as well. I like it. Let us know. It makes everything more fun. It makes everything more exciting. It gives everyone more things to talk about. It's not a distraction per se in my mind. And it's a fun thing to talk about. And we'll see whenever they match up again. We'll see if they ever talk about it again. Liam Coen was asked about it after the game, and he said it's just between me and him. And he said that 3-4 times. But a few hours later, the audio came out, and we all know what was said. So that's that. That is the story. And we'll see what Robert says this week when he talks about Sean McVay before Thursday Night Football.
I think it's funny too when it's like it's between us, but there's hot mics everywhere on a field. Like you can say it's personal, it was just between us. I don't want to share it, but like he knows damn well you're on a national stage with cameras every single place, microphones everywhere. It was eventually gonna get heard or said what he said. To me, it's silliness. I love all this kind of stuff. As long as no one's getting physically hurt,
Yeah.
feelings can be hurt. I don't care about that. But actual like players getting hurt is one thing. But I love all the chippiness. I love this. I love when players call out members of the media. I want somebody to say, I saw what you said, Ari Meirov. That's what I want.
It's what football's about. Can we stop with all the nice guy stuff? Like, enough. I get it. We want to get kids into the game and the next generation to follow along. I get it. I'm fine with that. But it's football. It's football. We got to bring some of that back into it. So I hope that starts to happen. I feel like it's kind of coming back a little bit, but we still have a lot more work to do. But this Robert Saleh, Liam Coen thing, which if you told me that before the season that would happen, that would not be on my bingo card. But here we are here in week 4 and it happened and it was fun. I enjoyed it. We're all going to move on from it. And it was a cool story to see.
I love the transparency with guys. And you already mentioned this a second ago. We got to talk about Cam Ward. Tennessee Titans, not quite off to the start that I think they would want. Maybe the national media is not as surprised that an 0-4 start was in the cards. But can you go through a little bit of what he said? And if you're reading the topic bar right now, you're getting a preview. But go ahead and go through this situation because I find it very strong and great that Cam is just calling it how it is.
Cam Ward is one of the most entertaining press conferences to follow right now in the NFL. People who know me know I watch a lot of press conferences over the course of a week, and Cam Ward has become one of the most must-watch ones that we have around the NFL because he keeps it 100. He keeps it real. Like whatever is on his mind, whatever he's thinking, he'll tell you. He's not going to have the media train, let me just give you an answer, not give you a headline. Like he'll tell you what he thinks about it. And so far, the Titans are 0-4. They were just shut out on Sunday by an 0-3 team coming in, the Houston Texans, and they could not do anything on the field, offensively at least. And he said after the game, if we keep it a buck right now, we ask. That's what he said. And that's kind of where we at right now with this organization. And he mentioned it over and over that the defense, they did their job throughout the course of this game. It was 6-0 at halftime, and the offense could not move the ball. And this is an offense that invested a lot of money on offensive linemen, invested a lot of money on players on offense like a Calvin Ridley. They brought in other players like a Tyler Lockett. They draft picks like a J.C. Latham and a Peter Skoronski. A lot of money and draft picks were invested in this team, and they are just not doing anything. And Brian Callahan, he was the play caller. He gave it up this week to Bo Hardegree. Nothing is helping. Nothing is changing. And it got even worse this week. And on last week's episode, we said the seat for Brian Callahan, it's getting hot. I think it's getting hotter right now. I'm not sure if it's going to happen this week or next week or the week after or after this season, but it's not going well. And yes, he was given a very, very not so great roster, but it doesn't make a difference. You cannot have that type of a result right now here in the NFL after winning only 3 games in your first year as head coach. The one thing I will say about Brian Callahan is that in some of these games, and really most of these games, it does not look like his players have quit. It does not look like they are not playing with a relentlessness. Like there are moments of that, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Bernard Wilson, the defensive coordinator, is a really, really good defensive coordinator. It's not like the Panthers game on Sunday versus the Patriots, where it kind of looked like they kind of quit at one point in that game. I've never gotten that sense out of Titans players, but still, you want to see more, and it's not happening. And the other thing about Brian Callahan, like we mentioned last week, is while he was calling plays, there were some awful moments of game management like there was at the end of the first half last week. There were some stuff when it comes to rules this year, which he did not know about. That is stuff that cannot happen as a head coach. And now here you are at 0-4. It's obviously go time and kind of now or never for Brian Callahan. Cam Ward is going to be there. He's the guy over here for the next couple of years, at least to see what he's got. And he has had moments when you watch some of the All-22 videos and clips that are put out there over the course of a week. He makes some throws that are like wow throws, wow angles. How did he get it there? How did he fit it in? He is somebody who could be a guy in the NFL and in the AFC, which is loaded with great quarterbacks. But the overall roster is not great, and you also start questioning some of the people in this building and if these are the right people. So that's kind of where we are right now. But I liked what Cam Ward said after the game. I like him trying to have a wake-up call to the team. I like him saying it how it is. That's the way it should be, and we'll see how the roster responds. Because again, at least defensively, most of the times they're looking okay. Offensively, still a big time work in progress. And Monday is always the day that coaches, whenever you're on the hot seat, kind of dread. So we'll see if Brian Callahan has his press conference later today. If he does, that likely means he survived. And if he does not, obviously we'll find out more. But it's definitely hot right now in Tennessee.
Yeah, not quite the scrappiness that we used to see from the Mike Vrabel days, which is actually the perfect transition because we have a spotlight guest coming out here on Tuesday that knows a little bit about that time period.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. We're going to go over to a former player here for our spotlight guest of the week, somebody who is now in the media world. We will be joined by 2-time Super Bowl champion, former New England Patriot, Tennessee Titan, New York Giant, Tampa Bay Buccaneer, and San Francisco 49er, Logan Ryan, the versatile defensive back, cornerback, safety, kind of could do it all there on the back end of a defense, somebody who played for Bill Belichick when Tom Brady was there, won 2 Super Bowls, went to New England with went to Tennessee with Mike Vrabel when they were the top dogs in the AFC, one of the better teams in the AFC, went to the Giants, had a really good run with them, and really he opened up with all these stories about stuff that people never heard about, especially on the business side of football, his free agencies, how he sometimes was lied to, A lot of stuff that has never been out there. And I found this conversation to be really fun and some behind the curtain, behind the scenes stuff. This was supposed to go 30 minutes, 40 minutes max. We ended up going almost an hour and probably over an hour when it's all said and done. A really, really fun conversation with Logan Ryan, who this season is now calling games for CBS. He also does a show over here at the 33rd Team Network, NFL IQ, with Cynthia Freeland. A lot of really, really good insight from Logan Ryan and stories from him on NFL Spotlight coming up here tomorrow. But that will do it here for our Monday, September 29 edition of the show. Week number 4 officially wraps up tonight. Enjoy the 2 games, and we will be back here tomorrow morning with Logan Ryan. We'll see you then.